They talk about it. They talk about it. They talk about it. They talk about it. They talk about it.
Welcome back to She Could Talk the podcast. I'm your host, Gangalee. Hey! And that's Gangalee on all streaming platforms. If you want to check out the music, just look for the red glasses, the locks. You can find me there, okay? But over here on YouTube, on She Could Talk the podcast, on this channel, we react to everything. I react to news, sports, crimes, politics, music, musicians, TikTokers, YouTubers. If they're talking about it, we're talking about it, okay? All right. So now in this episode, of course, I wanted to give my reaction to the latest movie, Sinners. You've seen all the memes, you've seen all of the reactions, you've seen the spoilers, right? I'm not really going into that. I really wanted to go into a spiritual aspect of it, right? And kind of tell you how it spoke to me spiritually. So that's what I wanted to get into. So as you can see by the title of my episode here, it's called Singers, Songs, and Story Keepers. And that's because I feel like they do all intertwine. Follow me now. So, as you can see, the movie starred Michael B. Jordan, and it was about two twins, identical twins, who were also like World War I veterans, Smoke and Stack, and they returned to Clarksdale, Mississippi, after years being in Chicago, working with the crime mob or the mob crime people, the mob Chicago crime unit. They ended up coming back to Mississippi to open up a juke joint and kind of give back to the black community, right? So Smoke and Stack, the brothers, they came through. He played both parts. Shout out to Michael B. right here, right? And some people, depending on how your views are, some people might say that they represent a yin and a yang, a good and a bad. To me, I felt like they did both. Not one was good, one was bad. I feel like they both were equally had a little bit of good and a little bit of bad in them, right? So that was like the yin and the yang. Plus it was represented in brothers, okay? To me, I feel like even though they were the main character, they really weren't the main character. And the reason why I say that is I'm gonna get into it. They had a couple of cast members here. These are some great supporting cast members here, but the music for me definitely is why I wanted to say Sinners, Songs, and Story Keepers, because the sinners lived a life, right? You saw how they all came together, all of them, plus more. This is not even the whole cast right here, but they all came together in the storyline to get the juke joint popping for the community, right? You had the lady who cooked, who also was a spiritual protector and the wife of Smoke. You had the girl who was passing. She looks white, but she's sassy like a black girl. She's gonna cuss you out, and she's Stack's girl. Them two kind of manned the kitchen together, was making sure that the drinks were flowing, which also I can't think of her name on the cast. Let me see if I can find it real quick. But I know her name is Lee June Lee. Grace was the Asian lady, and her and her husband Bo, they ran the general store, so they came over there to sell liquor, make that money. Plus she was an artist. She painted the signs, so they made money off of that. So all of them were kind of like, even though you would think they're sinners because they're trying to do this juke joint, they all were spiritual in their own right, and they all had their gift. So we move it a little bit on further, because to me, the music is what kind of resonated with me the most. But right here, I had to give it to these two. You know the scene. You know the scene. Let me move this out the way so you can see my face. You know the scene. This was pretty good. This was pretty good. But besides that, she was spiritual. She had spiritual protections and herbs and healing, potions and tinctures that were passed down to her from her grandmother. She said it. And she said, you see her beads, you see her, jars around her. You see what I'm saying? She's into the spiritual healing, herbs and medicinal healings. Like she was like the town healer. Everybody, she is like a store. People were coming in there and buying potions from her in this scene. Spiritual. And she gave him a bag of protection around his neck. One for him, one for his brother, which was supposed to keep them safe. And he kind of like acted like he didn't really, agree with it, but he believed in it. And when he came back, he still had it on. And she was like, he said to her, well, why didn't it work and save our baby? And she was like, I don't know, but I make sure I do everything I can to save y'all too. And he came back. As soon as he gave it back to her, she went ahead and re-blessed it. So she was spiritual in her own right. But I wanted to get to a next person right here. This is who I wanted to highlight. Sammy, aka Preacher Boy. He was the true spiritual antagonist of the movie, and he was to me the main character. He was the musician. It starts and ends with him, the movie. It shows how he was at several crossroads. The movie is supposed to be an ode to Robert Johnson, aka Bobby Johnson, the blues singer, who they said was famously known for telling the story that he was at the crossroads, he met the devil, and he sold his soul to the devil to be the best blues player. And a week later, he was playing blues like it was nobody's business, and everybody was like, this is some magic. What did you do? All right, so the whole story of this movie is kind of inspired by that story from the blues singer Bobby Johnson. So he's supposed to be loosely based on Bobby Johnson. So in the movie, you can see he starts out at a crossroads with his dad. His dad is a preacher, and he's like, he wants him to come to church and preach. He's like, nah, he's gonna go with his cousins. So in this particular scene, I feel like the whole movie, Ryan Coogler did a great job of putting together the stories and showing you and transcending the cultures, or blending the cultures from European to African to Deep South, back on up to the city, back on down. I think he did a great job of blending that. But the song he sang right here was "Somebody Take Me Home." Right? I thought that was very significant because he was looking for a home. He left home, which was the pastor's home, to go play for his cousins. When he got there, he quickly realized he didn't agree with that, what they had going on to some degree. So he left. He told them, when this is over, when this night is over, I'm leaving y'all. I'm hitting the road. And the cousin was like, if you leave us, you're going back home to your daddy. But he didn't feel at home at neither of those places. And you could tell throughout the movie. So then it became, his own crossroads that he was at the start of the night. So I thought that was very telling, singing that song. There was a couple of other songs that stood out to me in the movie. What is it? Pale Moon. The girl that walked there that this guy was with. Yeah, I know who I'm talking about. I don't want to do too much spoilers. I want to give up the good scenes. But that girl, she sang Pale Moon. And there was a lot of tribal stomping, drumming, as they're talking about the pale moon. And basically, the whole theory is that things change in the moonlight, right? That the freaks come out at night. The madness, the sinners come out, right? So as she's singing that, it was very telling, as you see that things were kind of transpiring around the juke joint, right? Music was invoking that in some way, right? When he sang this song, it took him through generations and decades and history of music. Took him through from the blues to jazz to bop to hip hop to twerking, and showing the different dances and the different ways we appreciated music over the decades. So that was very telling too, because for me, some people would be like, oh, it was just the growth of music. But for me as a musician, and then as a person that's like spiritually, connected with myself and my music, I feel like he was also saying that music is magic within itself. It is. You know what I'm saying? You can hear a song and it can instantly bring you back to a time, right? You can hear a song and it instantly make you mad because it brought up a bad memory. You know, you can hear a song and instantly your other senses start working. Like you start smelling, your memory starts bringing back vivid images. You start feeling alive. You could smell the spring in the air, summer. You know, music is magical. It's the one thing that we cannot touch, we cannot feel, we cannot hold, we cannot see, but it's powerful and worth millions. So that gotta let you know that it means something, right? And in the beginning, he mentioned about the story keepers, right? You know, so it's basically the story keepers are, in my opinion, you know, comes in all forms. Like Ryan Coogler is a story keeper because he's writing beautiful movies and creating these beautiful stories in the black sphere, the black movie sphere, you know, for us. From Wakanda to Creed to Sinners. You know, he's doing his thing. He's a story keeper. Then you have story keepers that are singers, like maybe Bobby Johnson, the blues singer, you know, or in this case, Sammy, you know, the blues singer, aka Preacher Boy, or Gonga Lee. You know, if you listen to some of my songs, you'll be like, this girl ain't really trying to blow up, you know. But I don't really do music for, you know, for the blow up per se. I do it because I feel like God blessed me to do it. And it's a gift that I have, a gift that I didn't want when I was younger, but I had nonetheless. And it wasn't until I became spiritually connected with myself and realized what God has given me and what he wants me to do with it, that it started to make more sense for me. Now, I'm not going to say I'm a full gospel rapper. I'm not going to say that. You know what I'm saying? God's still working on me. I'm not perfect. But I make music with intent, you know, because I know that the music will stay here long after I'm gone, you know. And so even if in my lifetime it may not be appreciated, it may not even be meant for this lifetime, it may be meant for the next, you know. Kind of like the blues, kind of like jazz. That's the vibe I was getting from here. So that's why I really enjoyed the movie. So those are some of the connections there for me. I like how they mentioned the Shanakees, the culture keepers, the story keepers, and the griots, right? And they mentioned like Ireland, which is basically where the vampires were coming from, you know, I guess. And then they mentioned these culture keepers, the Choctaw Indians. Now, I will say this, sidebar, we needed more Indians in the movie. We needed to see more of the Choctaw Indians come through and help them, you know, with the vampires. We needed a little bit of that. The scene was powerful, but I could have used a little bit more of action with the Indians and the vampires. Just me. The griots in this movie was Annie, which was Smoke's wife, Sammy, the other alcoholic blues singer who went to the door. The actor is Delroy Lindo. Let me see if I can find him. Delroy Lindo, Delta Slim, the pianist. Shout out to Delta Slim. Griot, because you know he was at a point where like I don't even care about the money. I do it because I love it and I get a cold drink at the end of the night, which is like, do it for the money. Just do it for the money at that point. But Griot, they lived a life and they had the story to tell. You know, so I thought that was interesting, you know, and I was like, all right, I like the movie or whatever. What I will want to say though, what I did like about the movie. Now, will I recommend the movie? Yes, I would recommend the movie. Yes, I recommend it. Now, I probably would give it a good strong 8.75. 8.75. I know you're like, what? The reason why I say that is, I feel like some of the scenes could have been a little bit more played out. Like, for example, we know, and it was meant for the emotional tug of like when Grace, the Asian lady, like come in because she was mad that her husband got turned into a vampire and she didn't want them going after the daughter. So she was like, come in, I'd rather die and kill you before all of that. I get it. I feel like something had to be done to set it off. I didn't like the killing of the twins. You know, like could one of them have aged out and been like, you know, the next story keeper to pass it on, and then from there. But I guess it did happen because one did live out, right? One did get that True Blood life, but gave me True Blood vibes in that part at the end, especially when you see him going through the decades. But one thing that just me why I say 8.75, it reminded me of Lovecraft Country. I love Lovecraft Country, but also like Lovecraft Country, I felt like it could have ended a little bit more powerful. Yes, him out, killing off the KKK, all that stuff. That was great. That was great. But I felt like, why, but I guess he had to die for the emotional heartstrings. So I'm not too mad at it. And I'll give him a 9. I'll give him a 9. I'll take that back. Not 8.75. I'll give him a 9. The reason why, though, is I feel like if you see Lovecraft Country, and I'm not going to say like I'm a big Jonathan Majors fan, but they could have let him play one of the brothers. Like, he could have played, like Michael B. Jordan could have played Stack, which was the one that, dated the white girl, and you know how it ended for him. That was a great storyline for him. He did great as Smoke. He did great as Smoke in that house scene. He did great as Smoke in that house scene. Shout out to Annie. Her name is Wunmi Masaka, and she's from Lovecraft. So yeah, let me go into it. So the girl who played Annie, the hoodoo mama, the wife of Smoke up here, she's from Lovecraft Country. And if you've seen Lovecraft Country, you know that her episodes were off the chain. Off the chain. If you haven't seen Lovecraft Country, go find it on HBO Max, or I heard they got it on Tubi now with commercials for free. So y'all, there's no reason why nobody should not have seen it, because that was a good series. And if you like Sinners, you'll like Lovecraft. I can almost guarantee it. Now, on the flip side of it, because of Lovecraft, and because I've seen it first, and I could even honestly say, like, Lovecraft was one of the shows that inspired me to react to shows when I started podcasting in 2020. You can go back to those episodes. I have a couple of episodes where I was reacting to the different episodes from Lovecraft Country and giving my predictions and what I think would happen next episode. And as you can tell, if you go back and listen to it, I was a little bit disappointed with the ending, but nonetheless, it was a good show that got me to doing reactions in the first place. Facts. But I feel like Jonathan Majors could have been one of the brothers. He could have played Smoke, which was the one that was with Annie, and Stack could have been played by Michael B. Jordan. They could have been brothers. If you see how Jonathan Majors acted on Lovecraft, he would have took this Smoke character, and he was the one that ultimately was at the end killing the KKK and all that stuff. He probably would have took that. I think that would have been a good pairing. I think it would have been a good pairing, honestly. So that's why I say I give it a 9, because I would have loved to have seen Jonathan Majors as one of the brothers. I think that would have been great. That would have been great. And then the whole dying scene, all that stuff, he would have nailed that, because he's a great actor, especially in these timepieces right here. If you see Lovecraft, you know what I'm talking about. Still to this day, people like they should have casted Jonathan Majors because he would have just brought his own clothes. That's what they're saying. Like, they say that he looks like he is from this time in present day, and I could kind of agree, but I don't know. But other than that, though, would I recommend this movie? Yes. 9 out of 10. I recommend it. The ending could have been a little bit, couple of the storylines could have been rounded up a little bit better for me, but it was good nonetheless. I recommend it to a friend. I see the connections of the spirituality between the music and the people who create the music, and how they could be seen as story keepers and griots and culture keepers, right? And sinners, right? Because sometimes we got to go where the sin happens to bring the message, because Jesus didn't stay just in church. He went out there to the city and to the places where they dwelled, and drank and smoked and carried on and brought his message to them. So I feel like we are no different in that regard, that we're supposed to do the same. So I thought that was a great movie, guys. I just wanted to share my take on it. Not really give too much spoilers, not go into the when this happened, when that happened. Funny, the memes have been funny. I've been cracking up over the memes, and especially if you know what scene they're talking about and you watch those memes, you're like, oh my God, this is funny. But other than that, I thought it was great. But I'm gonna end it right here, y'all. I'm gonna end it right here because, without further ado, I'm gonna hit y'all with the brand. You see all that? We're gonna look at that. That's when they was getting into it. You know what I'm saying? But it was a good movie. And without further ado, y'all, you know the motto, you know the brand. If you like anything I do, tell a friend. If you don't like anything I do, tell a friend, because it doesn't hurt either way. And from my lips to your ears, just know I love you. But I need you to go ahead and love me too. Spread that love by hitting the like button, subscribe button, comment, engage with me in the comments, okay? And then share it with a friend. And until next time, y'all, it's your girl Gongali, and I'm out. It's She Can Talk the podcast, and we out, y'all. Peace.
They talk about it.